Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SCLC TV. I'm Maynard Eaton, and of course, our president and CEO, Dr. Charles Steele Jr. Dr. Steele, you have a lovely wife and two daughters, but today is an heroic and historic day for women. As you well know, Kamala Harris has been named Joe Biden's vice presidential candidate. And I'm sure you heard a lot of talk about how historic and what the significance of this. Have you not?
Absolutely. First of all, I think it's great. But secondly, I think we as a people, and I'm talking about fair-minded thinking people of all ethnicity and background who want to do the right thing, need to be very respectful to Senator Harris. I think she's proven herself, but there's also been some criticism of her in terms of her ethnicity and background, in terms of her mother being Indian and her father being of Jamaican descent. I don't think it's fair to try and say that she does not qualify because she's not the typical in terms of the ethnicity and background, in terms of her parents. And I'm the first to say that because she is a female, that we shouldn't immediately or readily try and say that she doesn't qualify in terms of the African American quote unquote status of being African American because of her parents being of various descent from Jamaica, as well as being officially registered in terms of her mother as being of Indian background, in terms of the African American heritage. She's a person of color. She is African American and with an Indian background from the country India.
Well, she's been widely applauded by Black women across the country, and many say this is the year of the woman in politics. And she's also participated in civil rights activities when she was at Howard and in high school. So she's done much more than.
I think she's an excellent pick. I mean, that sums it up. But I've received calls and I've read comments. She is the one, and I think she's proven herself. She has a track record. I believe in folks having a track record, and for what she has done is really remarkable and applaudable.
Do you think this could possibly make a difference in this presidential race? Are women the trigger to perhaps winning the Democratic nomination for president?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me just say something, Mr. Eaton. People don't just get in positions by osmosis. If they get there, they won't stay there. I've been president of SCLC for going on 13, almost 14 years. And I took a 3-year sabbatical. But the fact being, I didn't get here overnight, and I have sustained, in my opinion, the storm that goes along with positions like this. This is not a position that anyone can announce and say, I want to be a president of this organization, that organization, or I want to be a senator or a congressperson to any degree, or elected official. You have to go out and earn that right. How do you earn it? By proving to the public and to those who are of the age of support with influence. You don't just get there because you want to get there, that you qualify for the position by having a track record and accomplishments of doing what it takes to help those who are less fortunate and giving the potential or the upward mobility of being productive. And you have to have some resources behind you, understanding what it takes to bring about the resources of helping those who are less fortunate than you are financially. You can't come to the table passing a cup and taking a offering because you're in a position of not being able to sustain yourself. What does that say? You have to, and I know you don't agree with me, Mr. Eaton, but let's get the debate on. Come on back with it. Come on with it.
We're talking about Kamala Harris. Now, wait a minute, I'm not quite sure what we're talking about here. We were talking about Kamala Harris. I'm not quite sure what you're saying.
I'm talking about any situation. of leadership, in a situation of leadership.
Well, since you brought it up, because we were talking about prior to the show, since you brought it up, there's been some criticism of SCLC for not having some young leaders. Like, well, we do have some young people working with you, DeMarc Liggins and Jonathan. We have Jonathan Lewis and Jeremy Pons. But there are some saying that SCLC is not fostering new leadership. That's been in the press. I'm wondering what your response is to that.
I haven't read that in the press, but I want to address it. Fostering new leadership doesn't mean you come knock on the door and say, I want to be a leader. You have to prove yourself in many capacities.
Is that incorrect then, those who perceive or suggest that we're not fostering or we're not passing the torch as some say others have? The NAACP has some new young leaders, James Woodall and things like that. We hear names about Reverend, we talked about Reverend Jared Sawyer. I mean, we have those that have studied under you or working with you or doing much the same. Is that not true?
Yeah, I've had, absolutely. And I have a good rapport with young people. And I've had many of them to come and to study on me. I study under many leaders, Reverend John Nettles, Reverend Dr. Joseph Lowry, even Reverend Jesse Jackson. I talked to Jonathan Jackson just yesterday. Reverend Jackson and I have been in relationship, and Lord knows it was Dr. Lowry who trained me. But Dr. Lowry was president of SCLC for 21 years. I traveled the world with him. You don't just get in these type of positions without earning the opportunities and the stripes that goes along with it. I had to sacrifice.
That's what you were saying earlier about leadership. He has to emerge as a leader, not just become one, right?
That's right. That was it, Maynard. You and I were not debating because we're discussing now. And that's what makes your and my relationship so great. We can discuss these type of issues and debate them. And usually we come out on the same side. Yes, leaders emerges. They don't self-appoint themselves. You have to emerge. And that's it in a nutshell.
Let's talk about somebody who's paid the price for leadership. Back when you knew him, he was H. Rap Brown. Now he's Imam Jamil Al-Amin, who's been in prison for 20 years. Some say falsely convicted. Even Andy Young says he thought Imam Jamil Al-Amin was falsely convicted, and somebody has said they did the killing that he's accused of. Here's his son talking about that. We'll come back and talk to you after that, okay?
Sure.
Well, this morning, primarily to discuss the case of Imam Jamil. He has been wrongfully incarcerated in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, not in Atlanta, Georgia, but via the Fulton County District Attorney's Office for 20 plus years now. We've been able to locate a confession, a video confession of the man who actually committed this crime. We've had signed affidavits for years from the man who has actually committed this crime. And we actually have paperwork from the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals condemning the Fulton County District Attorney's Office for their gross and egregious violations of my father's constitutional rights during his trial. And so we wanted to take this time to address both candidates in this year's election for Fulton County District Attorney, not to pick a side, but to ask that whichever one of them wins, they do the right thing. As you know, the current environment in America is social justice and doing the right thing as far as social justice is concerned. And the man that is locked behind these walls, Imam Jamil Al-Amin, H. Rap Brown, has done so much to fight for those social justices that for us to be quiet now when he needs us most is unacceptable. And so this is just a cry for justice, to reopen his case, give him an opportunity, a fair opportunity to prove his innocence, and to examine the man who has said for 20 years, signed confessions, paperwork, that he committed this crime. And so again, I'm not here, I'm an attorney, but I'm not here as an attorney. I'm here as a son who's been without his father for 21 years, and I would love to have him back before he passes away behind bars. Another man wrongfully convicted, lost his life for no reason. So, Paul Howard, I ask you to right the wrong that your office has committed, because you've been in this office for 20 years. So you know that you were there when this happened, and you have an opportunity to do something that most people don't have an opportunity to do. And that's to cement your legacy as a man who does what's right in spite of the fact that it was his mistake. Ms. Finney Willis, we're asking you, if you win, to do the right thing. You came out and said that your father was a defense attorney for the Black Panther Party. My father is an ex-Black Panther and the ex-leader of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and he's inside fighting the same injustices that your father fought for his comrades back in the day. So, whichever one of you win, please do the right thing. Thank you.
Dr. Steele, you knew then H. Rap Brown when he was the leader of SNCC. And like many others, he's paid the price for fighting social injustice. Is that correct?
That's correct. His son, first of all, should be commendable. That young man, as articulate as he is, and paid the price, and he's an attorney. As I know H. Rap Brown, he was back with SNCC in those days when many organizations was afraid to come out and address the issues and to collaborate. And at the time, it was different in the approaches with SCLC and SNCC. But in terms of the legal ramification of what we're talking about, if there's any evidence and someone has documented, officially documented, and this person admit to this crime, it's a miscarriage of justice not to pursue a new trial.
Have you seen that in your career? I'm sure you have, where those of us who are fighting against the government, fighting against injustice, are railroaded and illegally detained. That's been a byproduct of activism, is it not?
Absolutely, and that's a history within our society. Not to mention, Maynard, when I was growing up, many Negroes at that time, Black, colored folks, when I was growing up as a young boy, we were Negroes and other Negroid race, and we was also called colored. But as African Americans, you reflect upon those situations so many times that law enforcement officers at the time would just knock on your door and you ask, who is it? The law. And everybody in their house go under the bed or run out the door. And they would just come and confiscate whatever they wanted from your premises of ownership, as well as you as a citizen, which they didn't recognize or respected us at that time. And I'm here to say, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And we need to re-examine those type of situations. And I think with the right support, that this particular case will be re-examined, and ultimately, I think within a short period of time, there will be a new trial.
One thing we can say, though, talking about the law, well, we have a prosecutor, former Black prosecutor, who is now going to be running for vice president. That's changed. That's something new. That's something to applaud. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Very applaudable in terms of Senator Harris. She paid the price. She paid her dues. And she's going to have a balancing act at some point, because her job then is going to be completely different. She's going to have to find a happy medium. Yeah, she's going to have to find a happy medium and not just pursue being a prosecutor, which she has proven to withstand the pressure, regardless of your opinion of her politics as a prosecutor. But then she ran and she became a U.S. Senator. And she balanced that act very successfully. Now it's another balancing act that she must do and bring about a completion of the circle. The circle has gone full circle now, which she must represent all entities of the human race and human concerns.
Well, thank you, Dr. Steele, for another show. And the lesson from today, I guess, is congratulations to Senator Harris, but also your lesson saying leaders are not anointed, they emerge, right?
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day. See you next week. This has been SCLC TV.